everybody, and welcome to Geopolitical Trends, where truth matters. Very excited to be with you for the second time. I know we did the live earlier in the day, but this is the community conversation as promised. Because, like I said last time, I will be doing this once a month at the end of every month. I know today we had to move it till March 1st, but it will be at the end of every month. So, anyway, very, very excited to be with you here just to have a conversation about everything else but geopolitics. So just we can kind of take a break away from it. So let me first say hi to Emerson Bangura for becoming a new member of the channel. Thank you very much for becoming a member here. Greatly appreciate you. Willie Holman, good to see you. Alan Seen, Boyansu, Phil, good to see you as always. Phil, by the way, in Canada, for both of you, Phil and Alan Seen, I'm following up with what's going on now with the Canadian government. So it's some kind of problematic over there. So I hope they can sort this stuff very quickly. Hong Wan, good to see you. And John Smith from New Zealand, good to see you. So somebody, by the way, from let me get to that one. I just wanted to share it with you. Somebody from New Zealand just bought me 5 teas in support of the Asia trip, and he wrote, and I quote, "Thanks for your continued effort, David, following your journey from way, way down under in Aotearoa, New Zealand." Wow. Very, very, very excited to have someone from that far. I've never been in New Zealand. I'm hoping one day, if my journey will take me over there, I'll visit. So, Rogue Fernandez from West Virginia. Nice place. I used to travel through that area to Mount Weather. You know what's in Mount Weather, right? I used to go over there. Wonderful people. They kind of mind their own business. I was never bothered. They never sort of bothered me. It was nice. It was nice to visit. So, Adam Sterling, good to see you. Hi, Mr. David. Good to see you as well. Roque from Fernandez from West Virginia, that is, and Crooklink from Orlando, Florida. Good to see you. Phil, hello, Doctor. Always a pleasure to be here. Very insightful. Thank you very much. It's because of you guys. I mean, and I mean it. I know we have a core supporters that are always there, and I'm very grateful for that. But again, this is just, I'm also learning from you guys. I want you to understand this one. It doesn't go one way. I'm learning from you as well. This is one of the reasons why I read the comments word for word. I do spend a lot of time behind the screen reading those comments. Yeah, some of them are very upsetting, but it is what it is. So, and I don't take it personally. So I kind of respect people's opinions as long as they are respectful. If they cross the line, I will push back, and I usually don't hold back on that one. AF Gordon, Corleone, salam from San Francisco. Salam means hi in Arabic language. Salam to you as well. Oh, here is Joseph Roy. Hold on a second here. Oh, why we keep scrolling on me? Joseph Roy. Good evening, Doc, from Bintown, Massachusetts. Good to have you as always. And by the way, Joe or Joseph, I'm really grateful to you for your support. It means a lot. And I want you to know, I do not take it for granted. None of your support, guys, is taken for granted. That is not my personality. I know some gets upset because I say, I spend time saying thank you too much. I don't care what they think, because it is the right thing to do. That's to me how I was brought up. That's how I was raised. And I'm not going to shy away from that. So thank you so much, Joseph. Truly appreciate you for your kind support. So, well, here is how we're gonna do it if you guys are okay with it. Coach Ahoy, as always, from Malaysia. Good to see you. I was, opening up for you guys for your questions, whatever questions you have beside geopolitics, because we're not gonna do that. Then I do have something in mind that I would like to talk to you about, should you be open to it. So, but first, excuse me, I want to hear from you, because it's your time more than me just talking here. Chanel, good to see you as always. I haven't seen you for the last few times. I'm assuming you were busy and so forth, but good to see you. Franny, good to see you as well. Uh, so the idea I was thinking about is uh, I, I don't know if I ever disclosed to you guys that one of my hobbies is I didn't bring my big telescope. I do have a telescope here in the house. It's on the other side of the house. Maybe next time I'll do it. Uh, but well, how about if I go get it? Hold on a second. All right. All right. Yeah, this is my telescope. This is the one I scan the skies sometimes when it's clear, but usually not a lot because I have to step outside the city because of the city lights. That is the reason why I don't do it much inside the city here. And the reason I wanted just to mention this to you guys is because one of my hobbies is understanding about space and universe and so forth. So I read up on it. I spend time reading up on this stuff. And today I was thinking about really the civilizations that exist in the universe. Of course, I do listen to astrophysicists, the one that deal with this on a daily basis, the likes of Professor Michio Kaku, the likes of what's his name, Dr. Tyson, and Brian Greene, and Krauss. His name is Krauss, and there are some others. So I do read up on that stuff. And I was thinking, well, maybe I'll share some stuff with you if you are open to it. But it will be your decision, not mine. Because as promised, this time is yours. So you guys decide what would you like to, if you want me to talk about this, I do know a little bit about based on the research, and I'll be happy to share that with you. So it's gonna be your decision. And if you guys can type in that is was the Chanel, was the moon landing fake like we hear? Well, there is some questions about that one because here's the thing. And again, just to mention the word geopolitics, I know we're not going to talk about it, but the whole this race, it was about geopolitical aspects of it because we were concerned that the Soviets at that time were moving far, far, far advanced. So if we didn't at least pretend that we were in the moon or something like that, that's gonna. So, but this whole budget of NASA and all that stuff, it was aimed at something specifically different. That is. Uh, Ken Norman, are you asking me if I can see a black hole with this telescope? Because I don't want to answer till I know exactly. You can see a black hole. So if you can just clarify this for me before I answer, so I'll make sure I'm answering the right question. This, by the way, this big telescope, it's nothing. No. It's not this app scale stuff. Those are very costly. But again, I am not. To me, it's just a hobby, just something to learn. Literally, something to learn. No, you can't see a black hole with this. You can't see. Now, one time I did take the telescope outside. It was a full moon, and I was able to see, I mean, a clear picture of that. So something that big. Because why? The moon is only about 239,000 miles from us here. So, but for black hole, this is another. You need a far advanced telescopes, and of course those are professional stuff. No, the short answer is no, I don't do manage. Maggie in, Dr. O finally managed to attend live session. Well, good to see you. I know some of you guys miss this because you work your schedule, which I understand perfectly, and so it's always nice to see some of you. And I do read the comments for those who said, I'm sorry I couldn't make it to your live, but I truly understand. Good to have you here. So, Taro Man Harris, another avid supporter. Good to see you here. Dr. O, did you hear of the leak recording by RT on the German planning the strike Kirk? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. So I unfortunate, but I did. So so oh, Kevin, I like that one. There has actually been inside the black hole. It's called Washington. Yeah, but that's why I left. It was time to leave. So here is what I was thinking. While you might be thinking of your questions and so forth, I'll be happy to share with you some info, and I have some pictures, by the way, about just understanding the types of civilizations we're dealing with here. So let me share just some pictures with you, and I got some few. Uh, and I'll go over. This is a Type 7 civilizations, which we will. Well, I'm not going to get into because that's a little far advanced beyond our belief. Even though none of us here on Earth will ever understand the key ones that at least scientists, astrophysicists, that they are focusing on has to do with three types of civilization: Type 1, Type 2, and Type 3. Now, you may ask yourself, well, is there a Type 0? Are we in a Type 0? Well, not even in a Type 0, because we are at about 0.67 based on the Kardashev scale. Now, you may ask yourself, well, who is Kardashev? Here's a picture of his. Nikolai Kardashev. He died in 2019. Well, Nikolai Kardashev was a Soviet astrophysicist. He is a doctor of physical and mathematical sciences. So, in other words, he was a physicist and mathematician. Most of the astrophysics and all that depends greatly on physics and math. So, and he was also the deputy director for the Astrospace Center in Lebedev Physical Institute of the Russian Academy of Sciences in Moscow. So I was familiar with his studies to a degree on a minimum. I am not, once again, just for the record, I'm doing it just for a hobby for me, because I really wanted to, because the question I ask you guys, and we all ought to think about this. Are we alone? Are we the only intelligent entities or beings in this universe? I mean, come on. I mean, take a step back and think. Are we the only one? Are we the only one thinking of ourselves as being smart? So, and again, each one of us will have a different perspective, different views. But again, this is just something to think about. For me personally, that's what I also spend my time thinking about, because I'd like to know what's up there, because there's more than what meet the eye. So, and this is why I was thinking, well, maybe we'll address some of the types of civilization that exist, and we go from there. So, but for Kardashev, you need to understand his early life. It's very, very, very interesting that his background, where he came from a family of professional revolutionaries involved with the Bolshevik party back then. So his parents were involved. His father was an important member of the party, the Bolshevik at that time. So, and of course, what happened? You all know what happened in October 1917, and both of his parents sort of were arrested during the Great Purge of 1937 and 1938. So fast forward, he was an orphan, of course, and when he was 16 years old, he then had to live with his own in a large communal flat. And his mother was released in 1956. And that's where it was the same time when Nikolai Kardashev, that is, completed his university studies. So his education kind of moved into that trajectory, attending Moscow State University at the time. It's known inside the Russia as MGU, in the astronomy division of the mechanics and mathematics department. So he was a very, very bright man, very, very, very smart in his own right. And that's how he moved the whole. In 1964, proposed that he would be known as the Kardashev scale. And the one he introduced it was during the dissolution of the USSR. Nikolai became the director of the Astrospace Center of the Lebedev Physical Institute. And in 1978, Nikolai started a project known as the Space VLBI mission, which is known as the Radio Astron. So this mission basically endured for more than 30 years. and the spacecraft was finally. This is why sometimes we send aircraft for whatever, for 20. One of them just actually went into the atmosphere of Mars or Neptune or something like that. That was there for about 29 years. So, and this is why after 30 years, and the spacecraft was finally launched in about 2011. So, and the radio astron mission has become important in modern observation of astrophysics. So, and that is where at least part of his background, but he's the one who came up with the classification of the type of civilizations. So I'm going to break it down, and of course I always going to be taking a look at some of your questions if you have questions here, and we just go from there. So let's start first of all with the Kardashev scales, that is type 1, type 2, type 3. There are even those who are arguing that there's even 5 and 6 and even 7, but those are far. And I did find something, an article rather, in the science literature. It was written by Jolene Granton. I'm going to put a link for you guys so later on you can take a look at it. So, and this is where you start to consider about the type of civilization that they are exist. And where do we stand? Where are we? Well, most astrophysicists agree that we're not even a type 1. As I said, we're about 0.67 or 0.72. We didn't even cross to 1. But Michio Kaku, theoretical physicist Michio Kaku did argue that within the next century, 100 years, sort of it will determine which direction we're going to go. In other words, whether civilization is going to thrive or is going to perish, literally. And this is why we are a type 0 civilization, because we don't have much. And the way you can understand this based on the Kardashev scale is that it has to do with energy. Everything is tied to energy. I mean, you look at it yourself, literally yourself. Just how do you feel when you wake up? If you sleep, if you had a good night's sleep, but this is with the assumption that you take good care of your health, you eat well, not a lot of sugar, not a lot of carbohydrate, no sodas, no salt, no stress. So, and you take good care of your health. You wake up in the morning. If you feel this massive surge of energy, it's all about energy, even within you. That's why some of us are able to carry on throughout the day with massive amount of information that has to filter through your brain and so forth. And yet your body is cooperating because the level of energy driven. Well, energy is what's driving everything, literally. I mean, I'll give you just a quick example, and you can try it now. I'm sure some of you know. Take your hands and rub it hard. What do you feel? You feel a little bit of heat. It's energy. It's within us. It's just some of us are able to access that. Some of us are not. And when it comes down to that ability to access your energy, you are also raising your conscious level to a degree where you can think really outside the box, as we say. That goes beyond this physical world. Because here is the thing. Most of us are humans. We believe in what we can see. We believe in what we can touch. But the unseen remains a mystery for us. Like, for example, energy. Energy is unseen. You can't see energy floating in space, but you can feel it. But most of us haven't developed that kind of thinking to go to that level. And this is where that difference, even when it comes down to Earth, space, universe, whatever you want to call it, the level of energy. And because we are in a type of 0 civilization, is because we never sort of harnessed that energy that existed within. Remember, it's been almost a century, and we're still using gas to drive. We're still dependent on a few things. But if you are to think about some other civilizations, are they using gas to move through interstellar? No. No, they're using some other propulsion, fusion, nuclear fuel, whatever that is, some advanced aspects of it. And this is what sort of on the Kardashev scale puts us at that level of type 0, basically. That's what it is. So we have a long way to go before being promoted to type 1 civilization. And that's the same argument Professor Kaku made before, that all things taken into consideration, we will reach type 1 in about between 1 or 200 years from now. And what does it all mean? Because type 1 designation is given, and this is according to his own theory and research, to the type of species who have able or been able to harness all the energy that is available from neighboring stars. And we don't have that, because if you look at some other dimensions within the universe, we are only operating within our own neighborhood per se. So, and the way to think about it is, for example, we are sort of the need for the energy we need to use, the growing population and all this, and that requires energy. This is why you think about it, even the economies, what do they depend on? Energy. This means that for us to move forward, at least to type 1, we have to boost our energy production over 100,000 times from what it is today to reach that status. And this is why at least and other scientists agree that with Professor Kaku, that it will take at least 100 years or between 100 and 200 years to even reach that. And basically what will happen with that? If we are harnessing all Earth energy, what can we do with that? Well, we could have an influence on certain natural forces, for example. Human beings could, I will say, even have the ability to control volcanoes, influence the weather, or even earthquake, at least to a degree. So, though this is hard to believe for us, but compare the advances that may be to come if we are to move into that level. And this is where that idea, the way I'll challenge you with this, is the idea of our brain capacity. How much do we use? What percentage do we use, guys? Can anybody type in? What percentage of our brain capacity do we use, to your knowledge? So let me just see. Oh, I'm seeing. Thank you so much, man. Truly appreciate your support. Electrics are were in use 125 years ago. I see your point on this. I see your point on this. Yeah. I was aware of a case of someone, by the way, guys, who was able to, I didn't know him personally, I was aware of the story, that he was able to make a car run on water, and he was taken out. They took him out. You all know why. So thank you so much, LMC. Truly appreciate it. Some of you said 10%. Phil, you said 10%. Ken Norman, 30%. Cosmo Ray, 60%. Po Yansu, 10%. I will have to agree with those who put in 10%. That's the only capacity we can use. Now, you take someone like Einstein, you take someone like even Professor Kaku or Dr. Tyson, whatever, their level of intelligence is slightly higher than an average person. So that doesn't mean we are not intelligent, we are not smart. We are. It's just each one at his own or her own capacity. But overall, the majority of humans share that commonality, that the brain power we use is about 10%. So now you think about the idea of another being from some other dimension. You know, if that being, because I don't know, he or she, because they will be hard to, I don't know. So that being able to reach out here, which means what, basically? That the level of intelligence is far higher. Why? Because, first of all, how they were able to cross an interstellar journey. And I'm going to give you an example about what it's like to just go to our nearest star system. So if they are able to do this, they are, first of all, smart enough to create some machine that goes beyond our ability to think about using gas and oil and all that stuff. The compulsion or fusion and so forth. Then second thing is for them to sustain the harshness of crossing through the universe or the interstellar or whatever. So, and that reflected in the level of intelligence. And that's to me what was that basic of understanding at least the capability for type 1. So now next type is type 2 civilization. And type 2 civilization is represented by the idea, actually not this one. I have a picture of you. Yeah, right here. Type 2 civilization. This is what they call, and by the way, I give credit to this picture to Slavik Wuchowicz. That's the name. And this is what they called, physicists call it the Dyson sphere rather. So type 2 civilization, what is its abilities? Is the ability to harness power of the entire star system, not merely transforming starlight into energy, but controlling the star. I know there is a lot of physics stuff, and again, I am not a physicist. I am just sharing with you the knowledge that I have learned throughout to have at least a basic understanding of what it all means. So the most popular of these theories has to do with the Dyson sphere. This device, if you want to call it that, will encompass every single inch of the star, gathering most, if not all, of its energy output and transferring it into a planet for later use. I mean, you're talking about a fusion power here. So that's the mechanism that power starts. And if you know anything about how because there is some research now, scientific astrophysics research suggests that in few millions, you're going to see well, not you and I, we would be gone by there. The collision of the stars. All the solar systems will collide. And with that collision, that's where the burst of energy comes in. So this is at least what this type 2 civilization have, that ability to at least harness or harness that energy, all of it. So what will this mean for our species? Well, nothing known to science yet, because it could wipe out type 2 civilization in no time. So this is with the assumption that we survive to reach this status, which, as I said, is going to be forever before we even cross to type 1 civilization. And basically, one thing that is scientists agree on is that with this ability is that you will have, when I say you, I'm referring to the entire system where beings will exist in this kind of setting. When the solar system collided, in this case, if the planet is on type 2 civilization, it can move itself out of the way, which is basically physically have that ability to, move away or destroy another planet that is on your way to collision and so forth. And this happened, by the way, in a different way. And I'll share it with you because I was aware of that case. I was still in Washington. Of course, the government didn't want to disclose that at that time. Back in about 2004, 2005, somewhere around that time, it was the calculations in NASA regarding asteroids, because there are satellites. There are those gigantic satellites, one in Chile, one in Hawaii, of course. There's another one, of course, in Europe, one in Japan, all of them in Australia. The objective of them is to watch for the debris in space that something might be coming to hit Earth. Let's say an asteroid or something like that. Well, based on the calculations they did back then, it was one particular one that was on the Earth trajectory. In other words, it was headed. It was directed towards Earth. In other words, its trajectory was gonna hit Earth down the road. Of course, it wasn't gonna happen next year, whatever. That's what the calculations they did back then. And of course, that will be a concern. You can't disclose that to the population because they will panic. We are not equipped to handle certain aspects. And this is why sometimes you think in terms of Windows who say, well, is there another life out there? Yeah, maybe, maybe not. But the question is, are we able to handle what we might be dealing with, what we might be encounter? We might not be equipped to handle that. You think about it in terms of an alien being. Doesn't matter. And there are different types, you know. Some of us might not even be able to encounter something like this because we're not accustomed to that. Well, this calculations that the NASA was making about the possibility of this asteroid hitting Earth turns out to be that when you look at our, and I think I have a picture, I thought I had a picture here, but I don't. Our solar system, the layer over of it. When you look at our solar system, there is the Jupiter, of course. Well, why Jupiter is important in our solar system? Because Jupiter has 10 times the mass of the Earth. In other words, it's 10 times more than the Earth. Its mass is 10 times. And there was for a reason. Because that asteroid that was way, and again, this is based on the calculations the scientists in NASA did, that when that asteroid enter into our solar system, okay, it's going to have to pass by Jupiter on its way to Earth. Well, if Jupiter has 10 times the mass of the Earth, that means Jupiter has that capability of sucking everything that comes across its path. Think of it like a vacuum. When you run your vacuum, it picks up everything on the ground. The same thing for why Jupiter has the mass of 10 times the Earth. And that's exactly what happened. Of course, the government didn't disclose that till about literally 4 or 5 years later, because they didn't want people to panic. And that asteroid was sucked in by Jupiter. That is the whole idea of why, if you think of type 2 civilization, a planet of sort that has that capability will be able to move itself out or challenge that one. That's for type 2 civilization. Now, I do have another picture, something. This might look weird to you, but I'm going to explain. Then you move into Cyborg, and I give credit of this picture to Justin Lee. The picture is a reflection of what we are dealing with right now regarding AI. So we've gone from type 2 civilization, the control of a planet, to a star, which has resulted in now harboring enough disposable energy. Why? The reason being is to make the civilization immune to extinction. And this is where you enter into type 3 civilization. In this type of civilization, species will become galactic traversers, in other words, travelers with knowledge of everything having to do with energy. Why? Because this will lead to becoming a rare masters within the universe. This is what I'm saying. And again, we're just thinking outside the box. You can't think of the universe, which, by the way, there is more than just one universe. A lot of people think, well, no. There is something called the multiverse. And the way you think about it, like Brian Greene, he's the astrophysicist that gave a perfect analogy, and that's his analogy, because I give him credit for that. He always said, think of it like a loaf of bread. When you get a loaf of bread, what do you see? The slices, right? Slices of bread. Well, think of it, that's how the universe is. Each universe is its own slice. This is where the infinite comes in. But again, for our brain, is very limited in understanding this. We can't comprehend this kind of stuff because we are not equipped. Our capacity is very limited. So I remember I always have a conversation with my son, and he gets very perplexed. Well, it can't be that the universe is this long. I said, I know, Michael, you're not going to understand it, man. It's because your brain and my brain is very limited in absorbing this kind of information. A lot of people will not be able to comprehend this. Some others will not even believe in that to begin with, which they are entitled to their opinion. And this is where you start to think in terms of the AI, what we want to do with the AI. That's why I put the survey for you in the community. If the AI now is going to enter the field of international politics and start resolving the conflicts, so you want to turn that to a machine to decide? I don't think so, because it was already. I don't know if it was this. I don't know if you guys heard about it or not. That the AI, they did some run tests, and the AI wanted to know the nuclear codes. Very concerning. Very concerning. So there becomes a question: are we going to trust the AI? So, and this is where this type 3 civilization comes in, because harnessing or mastering this kind of energy, and in terms of humans, you're looking at an evolution that goes far beyond our ability to comprehend. And in this stage, we will have developed sort of colonies of robots in some other parts of the world, or the universe, that is, not even the world. So, and this is where it's going to become a very, very sort of beyond our ability. And as I said, those are the only 3 types that we know about. Now, if you go to the next one, level 4, type 4 civilization, that's too advanced, and it's just beyond our ability. When they go into type 7 civilization, literally, you're talking about, I don't know, some scientists argued that you'll be competing with God, however you perceive God to be. Of course, scientists see it differently, because scientists are, they're not going to believe in, they're going to believe in evidence. That's how they're going to see this one. And the idea of understanding, at least for us, right here, we're dealing with those 3 types of civilization based on the Kardashev scale. And again, it's just food for thoughts to think, because if we are to think we're the only one in this vast and limited universe, then we are mistaken. I speak for myself. I can't speak for others. And I know it's a controversial issue. Some people get very upset when you challenge their notions about this. Now, whether it's religion, whether it's principles, whether it's values, whatever, I respect whatever, and I speak for myself on this. I had to, over time, I had to change my thinking as I grow older, start to question certain aspects. And again, that's to me what a free thinker ought to be. You can't be limited to what they are saying. It's only this way and nothing else. Because if you do that, then you are limiting your intellectual capabilities. And if we are only to use 10%, can you imagine what will happen if we use 15% of our capability, 20%? So that's the way I see it. And this is, to me, it's just that idea of thinking about this one. So let me take this question from Hangwan. Dr. O, let me share the question with you guys all to see. By harnessing the earth energy freely, would that mean we can exploit the earth even more, so that kill the earth quicker? Not necessarily, because if we are to harness the energy, you're going to use it to advance the welfare of a human being, for us on earth at least. Now, I see your point, and please correct me if I am wrong, if I misinterpret your questions. What I'm saying all this is that harnessing that power for good use. That is what I'm referring to. It's not harnessing this power to destroy. That is where the difference is. So, and for us humans, we are fallible. We are short-sighted. You look no further than how we are. Why aren't we allowing people, we live the way we want, while let others also live? That concept of live and let live. We couldn't even come to this on this level. Can you imagine if we acquire some powers for harnessing this, this energy and so forth? That's to me. So I see your point. You got a valid arguments there, but I am thinking, and again, I am not an astrophysicist. I am just, it's my hobby. I'm learning. I don't know, I know this much, I'm learning about all this, is the idea of there had to be something out there far beyond what we've been told. And again, I never depend on what the government tells me or someone tells me, or I listen, of course, with an open mind, but I also have to reach the conclusions myself, which means I have to do the work. Because once you do the work yourself, it just how that's how I see it. Another question from Poyantsu. Question: don't laugh at my ignorance. No, there is no such thing, Poyantsu. Remember, I used to tell my students always, never, never hesitate to ask questions. When I used to do, lectures at the university or whatever, I'll stop the lecture if there is a question from a student, because that was far more important than anything else you can imagine. So I'm not gonna laugh at it. So I heard we should not sleep with cell phones by our head because of electrical wave will affect our brain. Actually, it is true. My phone doesn't stay with me in the bedroom. None. The plug where I plug it at night because of radioactive. I'm gonna share this with you. This is my cover for my phone. Why? Why is this way? Is the magnetic field in it. When I talk on the phone, I don't open the phone. I talk this way. The phone never gets into my ear. I just talk because it's magnetic. So it is smart of you to move the phone from your bedroom before bedtime anyway. The phone shouldn't be close to you. Shut it off, silence it, whatever way you do. So, no, it is true. This question is true. Radiation that emanates from the phone, because it's radiation. So can you imagine the radiation in space? Yeah. So that's the answer is yes. Let me see if there is any other question here, and we'll continue our conversation here. Let me see. I saw a question earlier. No, that's you, Pang Yatsu. I want to back up to the top to see if there is one over there. All right, let me scroll down now and see what's one I saw here. Barry Cohen. The answer is yes. Does the U.S. possess UFOs? The answer is yes. But you have to understand also what has happened after World War II. So why, especially after in the 50s, why certain nuclear power locations where the nukes were disabled? Of course, that was never disclosed. They were disabled. Even some pilots who were flying, they couldn't communicate. Their navigation system was shut off. So the answer is yes. So the stealth bomber that we created, where that technology came from. And of course, there is that Area 51. That's a conversation for very special platform for that. So let me see if there is other question here. And by the way, I need to share something else with you guys later, since we only have a free conversation here. I'm looking, guys, to see if there is a Ropar K10 question. How about cycles of galaxies? I am not aware of this one here. One thing I know for a fact, based on the readings that I did, is that galaxies will collide at some point. As of now, Andromeda is sort of getting closer to our galaxy. Well, this is going to happen in millions of years. Ain't going to happen next year. So it will be a while. But for this one here, I do not know. I do not know. One thing I know I can share with you has to do with this location here. And what am I looking at? You're looking at, guys, at Alpha Centauri. This is the nearest star system. You have two there. One of them, the one at the top, is Alpha Centauri A, and the second one is Alpha Centauri B. The closest one to us is Alpha Centauri B. Now, the calculations that were made to travel to this one, and this is, by the way, the closest star system, will take us about 75,000 years to get there. And this, by the way, with the advanced type of vehicles that can get us there. This is ain't gonna be depending on oil and gas and all that. You need nuclear proportions, and there's a lot of advance into this. So 75,000 years to get to this one. If you watch the movie Avatar, well, Avatar is a reflection of Alpha Centauri B, I believe. That's what it was. So, and this is where, when you start to think about the distance, it's mind-boggling, because our brain cannot comprehend those numbers. It's beyond 75,000 years traveling in our time. But again, when you go to space, time diluted. The time you and I, we know, it doesn't exist there. It's different. Same thing if you go to Mars, for example, because for us the gravity is what keeps us closer. There's no gravity. You will be like some other in other civilizations will be giant in comparison to us, because in Mars there's no gravity. So there's a lot involved in. So when you travel many light years, you're looking at a unlimited. It's beyond our comprehension to understand. But at the same time, we shouldn't be intimidated into asking the question, what if there is other civilization out there? What kind of civilization will it be there? And this is why it was always that question, are we trying to establish contact, or are they trying to establish contact with us? So it's because you don't assume that hypothetically other civilizations will come with good intentions, let alone, we are to them primitive. That's like us to squirrels or ants or whatever, flies, whatever. We look at them like, what is this? It's nothing, right? The same way might be thinking of us. No? And this is where, for us humans, instead of cooperating, because can you imagine if something will threaten our existence on this earth? How all of a sudden the world will come together? Why don't we do it just in peace without having to risk anything? So, and this is one of the, at least for me, that's one of the questions I always keep asking myself. Literally, since I was a kid, I always used to think about stars and space, and we can't be just us. There is no way. There is no way. So, of course, some have said, well, you can't be questioning that. That's a God and all that. That's beside the point. And again, I respect all religions. It's just, for me, I question everything, including a religion itself. Here's a question from Hangwan. Dr. O, will they develop a nuclear-powered rocket for space exploration? Well, they are talking about it already. It's the idea of, what do you want to make out of it? You want to make it as a tourism to go up there? Because I remember one guy in California, his name is Tito. I don't know if he's still alive, a millionaire, very, very wealthy. He bought a trip through the Russian Soyuz. Oh, I need to plug my computer. My computer is warning me. There we go. He bought it for $1 million. Well, he's a millionaire. So, and it's not like he went to some Mars. He just went out of space in Soyuz just to explore what it's like and so forth. So, and that was a regular rocket, So yeah, the nuclear powered, which will be a fusion. A fusion is what's gonna. The Chinese, I believe, they are working on something different. I was aware of something that the Chinese are working on. Very, very, very is gonna advance their space travels and exploration. As a matter of fact, Russia and China are cooperating now about building a lab on the surface of the moon. So there is a lot of dimensions to all that. China went on the other side of the moon. We never did. I mean, some are very questioning whether we ever been in the moon. So yeah, there's possibility nuclear-powered rockets will make perfect sense. Some said it's far better, but I believe Elon Musk, the what's his company, the SpaceX, they're working on that. Uh, Maybe we might see it in our lifetime. Maybe, maybe not. Let me see if there's any other question. Alan Seen, you wrote an alien on his planet at 65 million light years from here, looking at us with his telescope, would be seeing dinosaurs. Yeah, because of the time. Because if you get a telescope, I'm talking about advanced stuff. Now, this is just we're talking about the Hubble, the equivalency of Hubble and all that. When you look at that universe, what are you looking at? You're looking at the time when events happened, when a star exploded, because a star also goes through birth, lifespan, and death. When the star dies, it explodes. That's just how the whole universe, at the beginning of it. So, and yeah, you'll be looking at back then. You're not looking at now. And same thing. Hey, Farhad, good to see you. Here you are. Good to see you. The idea of it's just a different timing, because time and space is dilated. So, and this is why if you go, hypothetically, you go to Mars, you go to whatever, and hypothetically you come back, your kids will be older than you. Yeah, it's beyond our comprehension, because I don't know. It's very, very, to me, I found it fascinating. And I like to think about I'm just passing through this earth. I'm just passing through. We think we own everything in this earth. We own nothing. We go out as we came in with nothing. It becomes just what you did in life, what you did for others. That's all it's going to be. You will be remembered, a good person or a bad person. Simple as that. I saw a question here from Ken Norman. Dr. O, their EV car, when will we have hydrogen car? I heard mercury power is better. I won't be able to answer this one, Ken. I am so sorry. It's not. It's yeah. I do know one thing for a fact, that there are those who are pushing for energy to remain, energy, the way you and I, the oil and all that, to remain. I remember this story back in the 70s. Someone was able to run a car on water, and he was taken out. They took him out. Can you imagine people finding out, oh, I can run my car on water? So I was spending last weekend. I was working on my old car. I'm gonna share a picture with you guys to see, and let me just show you. And the idea of looking at that, and I said to myself, well, I don't have this is an older car. I was replacing. That's the one. I was replacing the cold air intake. I took out the old one and replaced it with this model here. It just runs better for the engine and all that. And I'm looking at the engine here because it's an older model. That's a Mustang, an old one. And still everything from the old. There's nothing electronic per se and all that stuff. And I was like saying to myself, well, this will run on gas forever. Can you imagine now creating the new model to see if it could be? This is the older stuff that I took out, the filter and all that. These new ones don't have that. So the idea, back to your question, Ken, it's I don't know. It will make more sense, but I do know one thing for a fact, is that China is working on something specific regarding space for the rockets. Now, will that translate to the cars? I don't know. Army with Harmony, good to see you. Does it suggest immortality? I don't know about that. Yeah, some people wants to. This is where I see the difference between us and the globalists, if I may use the term, that thinking with all their wealth and they're gonna control everything. But at the end of it, we're all gonna check out. This is one thing that we all gonna experience one way or another. You can't hide from it. You can't run away from it. You can, whatever. We're all gonna go through it. So, uh, I saw one here. Are there other from Fred, Washington? Are there other countries with UFOs remains? Yeah, yeah. Some of them might not come forward, but you look at example. Just give you a quick example. Germany. How did Germany build its military apparatus back in World War II at that time? There was some help from some outside entities. You look at Russia, for example. You know, so here's a question from Army with Harmony. In your view, how does the fact that energy seems to be eternal, only transforms, never created, never destroyed? That's an interesting question, and this is why you start to think about this type of civilization. What do they center around? They center around energy, and again, it becomes the question: do we use that energy for good, or do we use it for bad? I mean, you think about the nuclear weapons. Yeah, here is an energy because nuclear fusion can do a lot. You can run hospitals on a nuclear power, but also you can destroy a country with a nuclear weapon. So it's just a matter of how we are. We use the energy. It was the movie Oppenheimer. I don't know if you saw that or not, guys. I didn't see it. I read the summary on it, but they deleted one particular aspect of it regarding this aspect. They didn't want people to know about the downside of something like that. Let me see another question from you. Okay, Poyansu question: did U.S. astronaut actually landed and walked? A lot of no. That's at least to my knowledge, and I talked to some people. Uh, it was a reason for that because of the timing of that. We didn't want to appear behind the Soviets at that time because Soviets were the first to go there, Yari Gagarin, and it became a geopolitical matter. That's why we had to dump in so much money into space and all that stuff. But to my knowledge, no. Because what I found very interesting is that if you look at the pictures, you see the flag waving, right? Well, there's no wind on the moon. There's no gravity. So where that wind's coming from? So yeah, that's you're most welcome, Joseph. You take care, and we look forward to seeing you next time. And thank you very much for your support. Greatly appreciate it. The question. Okay, let me see. This one from Cosmo Ray. Doctor, what happened to 50s hover cars? I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. All I know is that certain testing has been done in Area 51 regarding certain hovering of some aircraft of sort, which models the same for outside beings or that they kind of move into that direction. QH7E, Dr. O, do you believe we cease to exist after the body dies? No, no. For me, I don't. That's my personal belief. We just transition. I know it's controversial for some, especially religious people. And again, I do respect their. I used to think in terms of religion, then I kind of changed my mind. I kind of digged deeper into understanding a few things, and I came to the conclusion that I needed to challenge some assumptions. One of them is this. Here, hold on a second. I'll show you a book. I wrote something. I co-authored a book about this particular issue here. Let me get it from. Yeah, this is a book. It's called Dying to Eat. This is a friend of mine, Dr. Candy Can. And let me just show you where my section is so you know that I did contribute to this. If I can. She had so many people that she knows, close friends and all that, whoever wanted to contribute to writing about what happened to the, yeah, right there. That's my name over there. I don't know if you can see it. So that's right. So what happened to the body after we die? Well, a lot of people believe differently, but I do believe we just transition to a different dimension. So this is why it's kind of, now some say, well, believe in reincarnation and you come back in a different form, whatever. I don't know about that. All I know, in my understanding based on the research, is that we just move to a different dimension, because there are different dimensions out there. So that's what I'm saying. We are very limited as far as to how much we know. 10% of brain capacity. That's it. So the body just transitioned to a different dimension. And again, that's, to my knowledge, what I read and came to understand. Because if you look at it, here's the thing. Here's how you think about it, guys. Here's how you think about it. Do you live in a reality now? Are we living in a reality? Just yes or no. Let me see your answer. And I'm going to give you an example. Do we live in a reality? A reality? Okay, you say yes. Okay, Ken Norman say yes. Amanda Jane said no. Okay, interesting. Here is the example that I want to give you. When you sleep and you have a dream, what makes you think that you are dreaming? How do you know you were dreaming? Because dream is almost like reality, because you are living. Why? You're living in a different dimension at that time. So what makes you think you're dreaming? Because you are thinking, well, I'm sleeping. Well, what makes you think you are sleeping when you are dreaming? That's just a simple example. And this is what that idea of the reality, you think about the whole universe simulation. When you go and do this virtual realities, and I did play some game with my son realities when we won over our son. It's virtual reality. You start to think of our existence in itself. Is it a reality, or is it just like some sort of a display of sort? So, but at the same time, when you sleep and dream, what makes you think that you are not living in a reality? Because your dreams can be vivid. When I dream vividly. I dream of numbers. I remember numbers. I remember people that I know. I see in my dream. You kind of remember vividly. So you are not hallucinating. You are same aspects. When we go to bed, are we going to bed, or are we just transitioning to something else? When we die, do we die, or we just transition to something? So, and I know it's kind of very hard to some to believe, because again, and again, I'm just sharing the basic stuff that I've learned over the years, and it makes me just question everything. Just question everything. Because that's the whole, I say to myself, well, I'm just passing through life. You might as well just learn as much, because you're going to check out. We're just passing through. And this is how I think about it in terms of the way I see it. So, Emerson Bagura, by the way, the new channel member, thank you for being here. Doctor, do you think culture is a scam? Wow, that's a heavy one. That's a heavy one. Well, because that culture will have to be defined by its own sort of its own boundaries, if I may use the term. But again, each one's going to have to interpret that according to his or her own belief and so forth. The same concept was about religion. What makes, for example, some say your God is better than my God. It's kind of this, when in reality there is none of that to begin with. Because if you look at the history of the earth, the history of our existence has always been something like this. This is where you think why our DNA is very important to understand. And there is something missing in that chromosome. Chromosome number 2, by the way, is missing for a reason. So, and you start to ask yourself, was any other outside forces interfering with this? To an average person, this might be too much. What are you talking about? You must be out of your mind. To others, said, I won't be surprised. I won't be surprised. So the culture, yeah, it's one of those hard ones, because every country has its own. They kind of attach to that becomes what identifies them as their culture per se. So as to a scam, I don't know. It's a hard one. It's a hard one because there are certain things that we all share as human beings, regardless of what culture you came from. I meet you the first time, I say hi. You're going to say hi back if you choose to, or if you don't, that's fine. But at least that's something you and I can share as a human being, is that I am peace. I'm coming to you with peace here. I'm not here to harm you and so forth. So that regardless of whatever culture you came from. So the culture becomes the one that the boundaries we put in ourselves. Sleeping. Alamsin, you mentioned this one is very important. You know why? It's because during our sleep, our body fix whatever needs to be fixed, including your brain. And what does it fix in brain? It's filter up the junk, because we hearing about so much junk throughout the day. So when we sleep, this is why, guys, a good night's sleep is so important. A nighttime sleep cannot be replaced. So I usually, for me, and I share it with you before, guys, 9 o'clock, I'm in bed. Lights out. I don't watch TV anyway, and no phones in my bedroom and nothing. Just sleep. Don't think, because the brain needs that time to really filter that, clear up the junk, get rid of whatever. Then the cells will have to regenerate themselves and recuperate and get ready for next day. So that's a good point, Alan. See. Hongwan, Dr. O, will it be safe to assume to say that if and when we pass on, our body and everything else returns to the earth as energy to continue the earth energy cycle? Yeah, there are those who argue this. For example, Dr. What's his name? Neil deGrasse Tyson. He was asked about how will he wish to be buried. Some would prefer to be buried. Others will be cremated. Doesn't matter, whatever. Everybody. Well, one of his choice was, no, I'd rather be buried so the insects can eat my body and transfer that energy to earth, because insects are in the ground, and that's what keeps those insects is what keeps the ground fertile, for example, for veggies and so forth. I mean, I have it right in my own in my own garden, and I'm going to show you, or share with you rather, a picture here. Just this one here is because this ground has some insects in it and all that stuff, that and I put that in because of the energy. That's how it works for those crops to grow, so I can eat that the cabbage and I think broccoli over there, and lettuce on the left. So yeah, I see your point. I do see your point into that. So, but other people prefer to be cremated. So, because it's always just transitioning. Remember, we're transitioning to a different dimension. And again, not everybody believe that or subscribe to that, which they are entitled to that. It just, that's to me, that's my, and I speak for myself here. That's how I see it. So when I when I check out, I'm just checking out to another dimension of sort. I mean, this is why sometimes you'll have your dream thinking of, I dreamt one time talking to my dad. My dad passed away decades and decades ago. My mom passed away decades and decades ago. And sometimes I have dream. Well, what makes me think that it was a dream and not some sort of a telepathic communication? Because what makes me think they are dead? What if they are in another dimension communicating with me? That's so that's just the way I see it. So, and again, it's just ideas here to share with you. All right, guys, I'm gonna sign off here, and greatly appreciate you being here. We're just having this conversation. We're gonna do this again some other time at the end of March. We'll be doing this, and I'm open to your suggestions, guys, as far topics. I just thought of this today because I wanted to share this with you. Maybe next time I'll think about deep sea, what's going on there, or something. We'll think about so. Anyway, guys, I wish you a safe and peaceful weekend. Be safe, whatever you are going, whatever you are doing. And I look forward to seeing you next week. So I'm not going to be doing any live stream tomorrow. I decided to take some time off just for the weekend to chill out and just do some house cleaning stuff and all that. And I will see you next week. As always, thank you all for your support. Truly appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you next time. As always, remember, geopolitics, back to daily life in more ways than one. Till next time, guys. Have a good night.